Welcome to A Gamer's Review, a new series that I thought I'd start because of my growing distaste for modern gaming journalism that seems to focus on biased political agenda rather than an overview of what a game enfolds. My own reviews may include personal preference, but not unfair prejudgment, and I've also actually played the games I will be reviewing, which seems to be a rare courtesy in gaming journalism of today. If you haven't read the title already, the game I'll be reviewing here is Morrowind, by now a game that has been out for almost 2 decades, but has always held itself on a high pedestal for me personally. For those of you who don't know Morrowind or need a bit of a refreshment, Morrowind, otherwise known as The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, was released in 2002 by Bethesda Game Studios, makers of the more recently popular Skyrim and Fallout 4, as well as the slightly older Oblivion and Fallout 3. For those of you who genuinely don't know the story of Morrowind, beware, for I am going to enter spoiler territory to briefly explain the story for the next couple minutes. If you don't wish to hear the summary of the game's main plotline, skip ahead to my analysis. Morrowind is a game where the player character starts out as a prisoner sent to Vvardenfell under the orders of Emperor Uriel Septim VII. The PC is inducted into the Blades, which is the Emperor's elite imperial order, and are made to take orders under the Grand Spymaster Caius Cosades to set up informants about the Ashlander prophecies of the Nerevarine. It is soon revealed that the player character is actually intended to fulfill the prophecy of the Nerevarine, and is then sent to the Urshilaku Ashlander camp to be recognized formally by the Ashlanders. The player character is told at this point by a wise woman that they are not the Nerevarine, but they could become the Nerevarine. After this, the character is given orders by Caius Cosades to eliminate a 6th house cult in Narmak. During this mission, the character contracts the great blight known as Corpus disease, and is sent to the Tower Telfir to meet with Devaith Fear, who supposedly has a cure for this incurable disease. The character arrives to receive the cure and then finds that the cure isn't really a cure at all, but merely removes the negative effects of Corpus. A positive effect of this disease, however, is that the character is now immune to all other diseases, including other blights. After returning to Caius Cosades after receiving the Corpus cure, the Grand Spymaster declares that he's leaving for the Imperial City, and that now the PC is in charge of the Blades of Vvardenfell with one last order. The character then acts on these orders and returns to a past informant and breaks her out of the Ministry of Truth, a meteor prison floating high in the air above the city of Vivec. The character then sets off to the secret dissident priest's monastery of Holamayan. Receiving information from this monastery, the PC returns again to the Urshilaku, and is told of the 7 trials of the Incarnate. The player character has passed the first 2 trials already, which are to be born on an unknown day to unknown parents, and to become immune to all diseases. The next trial is to solve the Riddle of Wisdom's test, which leads the character to the Cavern of the Incarnate. At this location, the PC picks up the Ring of Moon and Star and formally is appointed by Azura as the Nerevarine. In this cavern, the newly appointed Nerevarine can speak with the souls of failed incarnates. After receiving the Moon and Star, the Nerevarine must complete the 4th and 5th trials, which are to be accepted by 3 great houses as Hortator, and the 4 Ashlander tribes as the Nerevarine. After completing these trials, the Nerevarine is told to speak with the Archcanon in Vivec, who gives Nerevarine access to the Palace of Vivec to speak with the god, Vivec. Speaking with Vivec, the Nerevarine is given a game plan to destroy Dagoth and is given Wraithguard along with Vivec's blessing, and Vivec explains that he will end the persecution of the dissident priests and Nerevarine. Vivec's plan to destroy Dagoth is broken down into 5 steps for the Nerevarine. The first step is a series of aggressive raids within the Ghost Fence as a sort of reconnaissance of the area. The second step is a series of aggressive raids to destroy Dagoth ash vampires and take their artifacts. The third step is an assault on the Veminal Citadel to destroy Dagoth Vemin and recover the artifact hammer Sunder. The fourth step is an assault on the Odrassil Citadel to destroy Dagoth Aldros and recover the artifact blade Keening. The fifth step, of course, an assault on Dagoth Citadel with the artifacts Wraithguard, Sunder, and Keening to destroy the Heart of Lorkhan. At the 5th step of Vivec's plan, the Nerevarine meets Dagoth who speaks with the Nerevarine before fighting, giving interesting insight on his views and morals. After or during the fight with Dagathur afterwards, the Nerevarine enters Akulakan with the Gauntlet Wraithguard equipped, then strikes the heart of Lorkhan once with Sunder and 5 times with Keening. This destroys both the heart and Dagathur along with it. The Nerevarine runs outside of Akulakan and watches the end to Dagathur's legacy of terror, and thus completes the 6th trial. Afterwards, the Nerevarine meets with Azura and is rewarded for his deeds in destroying Dagath-ur. Morrowind is now free from blights, ash storms, and ash vampires. The sleepers are awakened from their nightmare. Almsivi, that is, the tribunal gods Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek, lose their moral authority over Morrowind. The Nerevarine has now finished the 7th and final trial. Morrowind is an amazing open-world game that was leagues ahead of its time when it was released in 2002. The game has more NPCs than either Oblivion and Skyrim, and I believe it may have much more lore than both of the games combined. This is most likely due to the fact that there is almost no real voice acting in the game, aside from the occasional cutscene and a handful of important characters' introductions. The graphics have not aged well in Morrowind to some people, and the mechanics are somewhat clunky at the best of times, with broken mechanics such as enchanting and persuasion. However, the game makes up for that with its immersive storytelling and captivating dialogue. Despite the game's aged graphics, it still manages to pass a relatively beautiful scenery filled with interesting creatures and unique cities that stun me still on every playthrough, and anyone who has at least seen the cityscapes of Balmora and Ald'Run for the first time can agree. Morrowind was made in an early version of the creation kit that Oblivion and Skyrim use, allowing the player to completely interact with every item that isn't nailed down to the floor. Those familiar with Oblivion will not have a difficult time getting used to Morrowind with player building skills such as athletics and acrobatics. Morrowind is not a friendly game to inexperienced or casual gamers, however, as it has very demanding leveling and reputation systems to simply even advance in the story, as well as a clustered journal that barely helps keep track of what you're doing, and if you stop for more than a few days, you're kind of left out. This journal is very reminiscent of the clustered questing systems from the Elder Scrolls Arena and Daggerfall. Combat in Morrowind is very bland, with 3 sets of attacks based on how you move your character's position in combat as you click the attack button. I believe that strafing left or right gives you a slashing attack, standing still gives a chopping attack, and moving backwards or forwards gives a thrusting attack. You can hold down the attack button before completing your attack, which allows you to reposition yourself after making your choice, and also serves as a method of pulling up your shield in combat. Many enemies can only be damaged by magical weapons as well. The system is extremely clunky and unfriendly to newcomers of the game, and takes quite a while to get used to. Exploration is easily my favorite part of Morrowind. The game starts you off with a completely blank world map that gets colored in cell by cell until you've eventually explored all of Vvardenfell. There's always a new dungeon to explore and new quest to be had from your local damsel in distress in Morrowind. There are roughly 6 or 7 regions in the game to be explored, discluding the expansions, and each have their own unique scenery and architectures. There's no fast travel method from the wilds in Morrowind like there is in all the other Elder Scrolls and latter Fallout games, however, and if you don't like continuously traveling through a big open world, I can't recommend Morrowind. The only fast travel stations are Siltstriders, boats, and Mage's Guild teleporters, which are only found in cities or villages. The music of Morrowind includes a grand total of 15 songs in-game composed by Jeremy Soule, who made the music of Oblivion and Skyrim as well. One might believe that it'd get old pretty quickly, but the music is so well composed that it takes a lot longer before you get tired of hearing the same few tracks over and over. Still to this day, a lot of music written in this game is being remade and remixed into other Elder Scrolls games. I personally consider the main theme of Morrowind, Nerevar Rising, to be the true main theme of the Elder Scrolls. Morrowind's story is a very great experience that has elements of plot and urgency missing from some video game stories of the modern day. There simply does not feel like there's enough content in the stories of Morrowind's successors as there was in Morrowind. As well, throughout the entire story you are given tons of lore on the setting of the Elder Scrolls and are immersed in your actions. Let's just say that the world of Skyrim doesn't feel how it's supposed to feel if Alduin was really a threat, or that in Fallout 4, it doesn't feel like finding the sole survivor's son is an important task at all. But in Morrowind, the threats of Red Mountain really are apparent and even world-changing. Overall, I consider Morrowind to be a great game, especially for its time. However, like many games of its time, and especially like many Bethesda games, Morrowind is nowhere at all near perfect. The amount of bugs or lack of modern innovations that Morrowind comes shipped with may very well turn off many gamers preemptively. I would really only recommend playing the game if you're a gamer that values lore over graphics, and doesn't mind a very tough learning curve or decent grind. The game doesn't come shipped with a comprehensive tutorial, excluding the discount brief control overlays in the first 3 minutes of the game, and the enchanting system is simply broken altogether. Morrowind will always be an amazing game to me for its intense amount of lore, story, and world building, but beyond that, I can agree that a lot of it is outdated. Is it too outdated to play, however? I'll leave that one up to you. As a side note, those of you interested in playing Morrowind, but not wanting to do so on the old 2002 Creation Kit engine, you certainly have a few options. In the Skyrim Dragonborn DLC, the Dragonborn is given access to Solstheim, which was the exact place that the Blood Moon expansion of Morrowind took place in a couple centuries prior. There's also the Elder Scrolls Online's Morrowind expansion, which features all of Vvardenfell. And finally, the Elder Scrolls Renewal Skywind team is working on creating a playable recreation of Morrowind on the Skyrim's engine, for free. Skywind is still in development at the creation of this video, but if you have usable skills for their team, I recommend you go over and show them some love. Thanks for listening to my first episode of A Gamer's Review. I decided to pick a game that I was familiar enough with to elaborate carefully on, while also being able to place valuable criticism of as well. I plan to do a lot more of these in the future, so if you managed to watch this far, I highly recommend subscribing and sharing this video with your friends. With that being said, see you in the next episode.